As I emerged from Tianjin station, Duhai waved at me. He'd asked me to be there at 10:30 so that we could catch the weekend matchmaker's market, and it was already 10:15. "I've been waiting 40 minutes and you only want me to drive to Central Park?" a taxi driver protested as we drove less than 5 minutes to reach the park. Duhai did not react. I had not seen him for 2 years, but remembered his calm temperament. Born, brought up, educated in Tianjin, Duhai had graduated as a tourism major, but took a first job as a photographer at a local newspaper. He was ambitious, but had struggled for several years to earn himself scholarships for graduate studies, first in Hong Kong and then London. We were heading off for a day to discover parts of his hometown not all tourists get to see. On weekend mornings in the streets around the small park, parents gather to find potential matches for their ageing offspring. It's a lively and welcoming atmosphere, and within a few seconds of arriving I was approached by a man with a sign that described his daughter. Female, 27, master's degree, works in a bank, 1.62 meters, and lives in the West River. "Are you interested?" he asked, as a small crowd gathered around me. As I set about my gentle explanation of how unfortunately I was taken, but if I was not, his daughter sounded wonderful, 3 initial impressions of the city hit me. I had travelled just half an hour from Beijing, but the air was cleaner, the temperature was cooler, and the people more friendly. This was going to be an enjoyable day. As Duhai and I escaped numerous offers of a perfect match, we headed up Chefeng Road to a porcelain house. It was a little out of place in the rather nondescript neighbourhood, but intriguing all the same. After a short tour, we took a taxi to the 5 major roads district, which our taxi driver informed us used to be the British concession. "I studied tourism, but actually you are the first person I've ever guided," Duhai admitted, as he tried to explain how many foreign countries built their own concessions in Tianjin in the mid-19th century, and they remained until the early 1940s. But it was a quiet and soulless area, with a grand stadium and a few villas giving subtle clues to the colonial past. I spotted a church in the distance, and persuaded Du to divert off his route to investigate. Tianjin Shikai Cathedral was built in the French concession in 1913. It's now protected as an important historical site. There was a peaceful social feel inside as people read newspapers, sent messages, and slept in the cool, dark aisles. Leaving the church through the main door, I was jogged out of my daydreams of my European youth, reading a sign of things you cannot do in a church. "No love" caught my eye. I thought that was what Christianity was all about. Before leaving the concession, we stopped for a European-Chinese fusion lunch, which seemed a good fit for our morning's adventures, and then went on to the Mazu Temple in the descriptively named Ancient Culture Street. The temple was built for fishermen of whom there seemed to be no sign, but it was close to the river, and so we decided to take a ship to continue on. I don't normally like tourist buses, boats or tours, but this turned out to be a great way to get a feel for the city. Travelling down the high river, you're transported through a world of spectacular bridges, European architecture, and oddly shaped skyscrapers. Much of this was not here before I went away to study, Duhai told me as he pointed out which European buildings were genuine and which had gone up in the last 10 years. "That bridge is an exact copy of one in France. I saw the picture on the internet," he said as he pointed to an elaborately decorated crossing. "This one has a lot of history though," he added, pointing to another bridge. "It was a key battleground in 1948. As we disembarked, we heard shouts and we went to investigate. We sat for several minutes, looking at men jumping off a bridge and into the river, wondering why anyone would want to leap from a perfectly stable platform into a river of questionable cleanliness. As the day drew in and I prepared to return to Beijing, Du suggested one last attraction. "Crosstalk is our traditional Chinese comedy and it started in Tianjin. Let's go catch a show, it's on the way to the station." In a smoky back room of an old Tianjin tea house, I was introduced to 2 renowned crosstalkers as they warmed up for the afternoon performance. Front of house, a small audience chewed on sunflower seeds and chuckled at the robed comedians as they paced through their routines. Thanking Du Hai for the truly enjoyable day and heading off to the railway station, I promised him I would return soon, next time without my camera and notebook, and probably very soon.